What's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm going to show you one of my recent training sessions to show you how I aim to spend my time as efficiently as possible when I'm in the gym as I get deeper and deeper into my natural bodybuilding competition prep. Hopefully, in doing so, you might find something helpful for you on your own journey to develop your physique. If you enjoy the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps me out a lot. Thanks in advance. All right, let's dive in. First up are Romanian deadlifts. As far as progress goes with these, I'm really just aiming to hold 8 reps for my first set at this load. I'm getting deeper into my prep diet now, so the progress I was seeing several months ago has slowed down a decent amount since then. I don't feel myself regressing in strength, but rep for rep at certain loads and with certain movements, like with this one, things are feeling a bit tougher. Despite the difficulty to progress, my mind-muscle connection with my hamstrings when doing these has been fantastic. Actually, the best it's been in ages. This might be because I've shifted my attention and focus even more onto moving with great technique rather than fighting as much to aggressively progress. I'll take that as an indicator that I'm, at the very least, getting a great stimulus. As far as my technique goes, I move as low as I can at the bottom of each rep with control to the point where I can feel a massive stretch across my hamstrings. When I'm in that super deep position, I'll aim to pause there for a split second to sit in this stretch position before pulling the load back up. I find that picking a spot in the wall in front of me to fix my eyes on helps me a lot to keep my chin up, which has been a helpful cue to keep tension off of my lumbar spine and on my hamstrings. Another cue that really helps me with these is to aim to take in big breaths at the top of each rep and to brace my midsection very hard. The bracing really helps keep my spine in a strong, supported position to ultimately put my body in the best position possible to safely produce tons of force. Next up is the flat dumbbell bench press. This has been an interesting one lately. Last month, I developed a nasty little nagging pain deep in the area of my right pec. Honestly, I'm not sure exactly what caused the pain, but suspect it was mainly a wear and tear kind of thing from continuously pushing my limits. Regardless of what caused it, by the time I realized that it was a problem, it was painful during all of my pressing movements, at times my rowing movements, and even during some of my delt and arm movements. In short, it was pretty much affecting most of my upper body training. Not ideal. To work around the pain, I adjusted every movement that was painful by either decreasing the load and changing my rep target, adjusting my exercise setup, or in some instances, I swapped to a different exercise. For example, because I could feel aggravation when doing overhead triceps extensions from the way my arms were being stretched above my head in that position, I switched it temporarily to cable tricep pushdowns instead. All in all, with all of the adjustments I've made, I've still been able to train each of my muscles just fine, and I'm now at the point where I'm pretty much completely recovered. With these flat dumbbell presses, I'm sticking with a slightly higher rep range, along with tucking in my elbows a bit more than I usually would. This is the loading and positioning I feel the most confident will keep the injury from reappearing. In time, I might increase the load gradually from here again, but I'm going to be very patient with it. Since I'm able to train to near failure with these loads, I know I'm getting more than enough stimulus for muscle retention, so there's no real need for me to try to push the weight much heavier, at least for right now. Leg extensions are up next. My focus on this movement is simple. Lean back, lock myself in a position, and then endure as much fire on my quads as I can feasibly tolerate. Exercise technique is fairly straightforward on this because of the nature of the machine. So as I move with a controlled tempo and as much range of motion as the machine will allow for, I challenge myself to do as many reps as possible before the feeling of tension becomes too much for me to bear. Once I get to the end of the set and can no longer fully lock out at the top of each rep, I'll aim to do as many length and partials as I can, which is usually just a few, and then I'll stop the set when I basically just can't move anymore. The length and partials are a way to squeeze out just a little bit more out of my quads. Honestly, out of all of the lower body exercises I've included on my program, I find this one to be the least interesting overall. There's something a bit less exhilarating about getting through a tough set of these compared to, say, a devastating set of Bulgarian split squats. But gamifying the movement by aiming to endure as much discomfort and fire as possible does help to make it a little bit more fun, I suppose. Or at least that's what I tell myself. Chest-supported dumbbell rows are next to hit my traps. A cue I've found to be very helpful with these is to actually reach forward at the bottom of each rep. The reaching seems to help me stretch my traps out more deeply, which might make each rep a little bit more stimulative for muscle growth. At the very least, the accentuated stretch sensation has definitely been helping to reinforce my mind-muscle connection. So I think that's a win. Similarly to the leg extensions, this exercise really seems to lend itself well to including length and partials at the end of the set. I usually find that after the point where I can no longer do any more full range of motion reps, I can still get a decent amount of length and partials afterwards. My traps have previously been one of the weaker areas on my physique, so I'm hoping that the rowing movements and shrugs I've been doing for the past few years have led me to some noticeable improvements that will be seen when I'm stage ready at the end of my prep. Pretty sure there's going to be a significant difference, but only time will tell. Next up are these seated dumbbell shoulder presses. Before I was dealing with the nagging pec injury I mentioned earlier, I was actually doing these in a superset with an incline dumbbell lateral raise. The lateral raise variation was causing aggravating pain though, so I opted to simply remove it altogether from my program, at least for the time being. It's always tough to take out an exercise under those kinds of circumstances, but it's better to do that than to keep doing them and make the pain worse. Funny enough, I've actually been really enjoying doing these overhead presses independently without the superset. I found that I have the strongest mind-muscle connection with my delts when doing sets of above 12 reps, kind of between like 12 to 16 reps. The higher rep ranges and lighter loads allow me to move with a ton of precision. I found in the past that when I opt to lift heavier at lower rep ranges when doing these, my mind-muscle connection is never really all that good, and I often question if I could be more efficient about hitting my delts more effectively. The higher rep ranges with extra precision seems to be the answer to that. This cool variation of bicep curls is up next. Okay, so it might look a little bit silly to lean back on a preacher curl bench like this, but let me tell you, it's doing the trick. The exercise is kind of similar to doing a seated incline dumbbell curl, but with a big difference in that the elbows have the preacher pad as support here versus doing a seated curl where the elbows wouldn't get that kind of support. Both variations are fantastic, to be honest. You can build big biceps either way, and I like both of them. With bicep curls, I find that for me, moving with more control is almost always better. Avoiding swinging and ensuring tension is felt on my biceps at all points of the set is basically a priority for me. In moving with that kind of control, I find that there's never a need to lift terribly heavy to get a great stimulus. Although it might not sound as hardcore to say that I prefer to lift lighter, it's strategic in the sense that it saves my elbows. And if my elbows are healthy, then I can progress for longer. And if I can progress for longer with healthy elbows, I can ultimately build bigger biceps. Dumbbell French press is next to hit the old triceps. Like the bicep curls, my focus here is moving with great control. No excessively heavy loads and no swinging. This movement biases the lateral and medial heads of the triceps and involves less of the long head. For that reason, in addition to including these in my program, I also like to do an overhead tricep extension of some kind, usually with a cable or an easy curl barbell to make sure I also hit the long head of my triceps. The lateral and medial heads make up the part of the triceps that you can really see when doing a side triceps pose. So it's definitely worth giving those parts of the tricep some attention. These might not look super hardcore, like heavy weighted dips or JP presses, but nonetheless, they're one of my favorite tricep exercises. And last up are these machine calf raises. I prefer this machine over all of the standing calf raise machines at my gym. From what I feel, it allows me to get more out of the bottom lengthened position of each rep. Plus, there's the added bonus that I don't have to load my spine, in opposed to if I were to using a standing calf raise machine. I train my calves the same way I would train any other muscle, with a good deal of control and to a very close proximity of failure. So I train them hard. Also worth noting is that lengthened partials seem to go a long way with these, at least when I do them. Like the dumbbell chest supported rows from earlier, after the point where I can no longer do any more full range of motion reps at the end of the set, I can usually do significantly more lengthened partials, or partials in the bottom half of the rep, just to get even more out of my calves. And that's it. If you have any questions about anything in the video, go ahead and leave your question in the comment section below and I'd be happy to answer. Before closing the video, I wanted to quickly let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos, recording podcast episodes, or making Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition, and I help coach them through the process. I've been doing this work since 2018 and love helping my clients to transform their bodies and ultimately their lives. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, you're invited to hit the link in the description below to learn a little bit more about the work that I do and how it can help you. You can even use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me. If you have any questions about my coaching or how I can help you, just email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.